Irving is apparently unvaccinated. Nets GM Sean Marks.
A choice in this matter, and it's ultimately going to be up to him what he decides. You know, we respect the fact that he has a choice and he can make his own and right to choose.
Mark says the team doesn't want players participating on a part-time basis. A Game 4 triple header in the baseball playoffs today. All 3 games on other ESPN radio outlets. Right now in Chicago, 3rd inning, the White Sox lead the Astros 1-0 thanks to a Gavin Sheets home run. Houston leads the series 2-1. Later, the Braves host the Brewers with Atlanta leading 2-1, and the Dodgers host the Giants with San Francisco up 2-1. Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley says he's not planning to name his starting quarterback for Saturday's game against TCU. Freshman Caleb Williams led the Sooners to an epic win over Texas after replacing Spencer Rattler. The NHL returns to ESPN tonight with a season-opening doubleheader. First at 7:30 Eastern, the Tampa Bay Lightning raise their 2nd straight Stanley Cup banner before facing off against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane.
Hey, it's Tuesdays from Top Golf here on ESPN 690. Welcome aboard here on a Tuesday. And, oh my, what a story in the NFL yesterday. And I'm not talking about Lamar Jackson's incredible second-half performance or the collapse of the Colts, but instead John Gruden. That is really the story of the last 24 hours in the NFL. And where else does it lead? Because the story, while it's not done, it kind of got at least a period put at the end of it with a resignation in a hurry by John Gruden. But I think more fascinating now is what else does this lead to? And what other issues internally does the NFL have with its higher-ups? That's something to keep an eye on for sure. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane here at Top Golf. Come on out. Josh Scobie will join us from 5 until 6. He can't wait probably to talk about all the kicking problems in the NFL.
Oh, I'm sure he can't wait to talk about that.
And probably his double eagle at the 9th hole on TPC Sawgrass yesterday.
I saw that. So, pretty impressive, Mr. Scobie.
Yeah. Good thing he switched to golf and he's not kicking anymore, because nobody can make it.
Well, I mean, he could be in high demand right now, though, as well.
How about? Yeah, you're right, actually. He could probably name his price.
For sure.
How about our man Calais Campbell with a big couple plays yesterday?
Yeah, it was good to see him show up, absolutely.
It's so funny to me, right, because everybody loves Calais. We love Calais. I'm certainly biased toward Calais. Spent a lot of time around him over a few years. But I just love how the Jags fans love Calais and love to see Calais do well. Mm-hmm. And that's so different than, like, anybody else that leaves. Especially a guy like Jalen, but I'm not even just Jalen. I mean, it's not like people want to see Ronnie Harrison do that well up in Cleveland.
Sure.
It's not like they really want to see Leonard Fournette, although I think they're a little bit indifferent, especially because James Robinson, what he's been able to do. Mm-hmm. But it is wild, right, how much collectively you can't say it loud enough how much in 3 years Calais Campbell endeared himself to an organization, a city, a fan base, that it felt like he was here for 13 years.
No, for sure. It's obviously all that he did in the community. It's all that he did on the field. And it's really the way that he left, where I think it left a lot of people kind of shocked and surprised, and it wasn't really bad blood per se. They decided to go in a different direction, and they traded him to Baltimore with the chance for him to shine there and obviously win a Super Bowl. So they did him a favor by trading him to Baltimore, but it was unexpected. I remember the day that it happened, just how shocked I was, because you're letting go of a veteran guy who it was fantastic in that locker room. But yeah, I mean, just the way that he left, the way they did the things they did for the community, of course people are going to cheer for him because he's a great guy.
Yeah, no doubt. So Calais Campbell with a big play, and they continue to win and pull it out. We'll talk a little bit more about Lamar Jackson and that performance in a bit, but John Gruden really is the story around the NFL. This came out, I think it was on Friday. Mm-hmm. Then it was a weekend story. And then, man, it blew up, kind of like in the middle of our show. I think it was the New York Times actually put that article out. And it was like, boom, 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 see ya. I mean, It was quick. And you're not coming back from that now. I mean, that's no surprise, I guess, from a resignation or firing or something. But I guess, are we surprised? John Gruden is a kind of like this lovable character over the years as well. So are we even more surprised that it's him? And just the whole thing of it, now that we seem to kind of get away from a lot of this stuff, I would say, in the last few years, but we are reminded in a moment like this that this has been like this for a long time, whether it's in corporate America, the NFL, or sports in general.
Yeah, I am surprised that John Gruden, said all of those things. I'll be honest with you. And then this span, it was 8 years, I believe, so it wasn't just a one-time thing.
2011 to 18, yeah.
Yeah, this was a reoccurring thing. And I get it. If you slip up one time, you just had a bad sense of judgment, okay. But saying, derogatory things over and over and over again, that's who you are. That's a character trait. So, first of all, I'm not surprised that he resigned because I'm not sure how you're going to face the guys in that locker room when a locker room that has an openly gay football player, number one, a locker room that is made up of black players, number two. I had no idea how I was going to face that locker room. So, I'm not surprised that he got let go. And at the end of the day, the NFL has made themselves pretty clear that they're trying to put the best foot forward and trying to change things and players alike, right? And the things that John Gruden said, whether it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, those derogatory comments, they make you a brake on the wheel of progress. And there's no need for that. I'm not saying that John Gruden will never coach again at any kind of capacity or he'll never get another job again, but I'm saying right now, there's no need for you.
Yeah, and I don't think he will get another coaching gig. Now, years from now, who knows? Maybe it happens. We've seen a lot of people get coaching jobs, but I think this is it for him. And, from a football standpoint, I thought he was actually doing a good job year by year by year of kind of moving forward with the Raiders. They were 3-0, 3-1, and then you could I don't know if they were distracted by it, but it seemed like they might have been distracted by it Sunday against Chicago. Didn't play that well. And now this, and you wonder kind of what happens to the Raiders. Like, they looked like they were a threat, and now, boom, does it blow up with the Raiders, or do they galvanize? Same questions we're kind of asking here in Jacksonville. But this isn't really about football. I mean, this is about leadership. This is about people. This is about, I get so tired of hearing and seeing, like, hey, you got to be careful what you say and what you say. Well, how about we just don't talk like that?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, isn't this quite simplistic? Like, do we have to have a conversation about how this happens? I mean, listen, everybody's fired off, like, expletive-laden whatever, probably in a text, maybe even in an email.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, but why does anybody talk to like this?
Yeah.
And then you can say after that maybe, well, why would you ever put it in writing if you did talk like that? But let's start with why do you ever talk like that? From locker room talk to buddy on a golf course talk to any talk, I mean, this shouldn't infiltrate people's minds and vocabulary, quite frankly. And I know we are in a different place with a lot of this stuff now than even 5 years ago and 10 years ago. But again, it doesn't matter to me that it was in writing or on a text or whatever. It's the fact that somebody would even think to talk like this on a regular basis, not even just a one-off thing, Austin,
Yeah, no,
I mean,
sure.
the DeMaurice Smith stuff was, okay, maybe that's a one-off thing. He shouldn't have said that, or he had an explanation for it. You can believe him or not. Or he even, I think, had said I was in a bad place at that moment. Well, you're in a bad place for 7 years to talk like this?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's John Gruden or anybody, I don't understand the context and conversation being like this in a normal setting over a period of time or at all.
Well, yeah, for sure. And when we talk about John Gruden, you talk about a guy who was on Monday Night Football, who was all over ESPN, who's had his brand and his personality in media. And, now who was one of 32 NFL coaches who just got let go. But like you said, like this is a character trait. This isn't a one-off here. You use derogatory language for all groups of people, not just one section, but literally all groups of people. So in terms of bigotry, like that's not going to obviously stand in the NFL, but it also presents the picture of, okay, this is an NFL coach. He has circles. I guarantee he talks like this in his circles. Is nobody holding this guy accountable? Is nobody going out and saying, hey, John, maybe you shouldn't say that because, I don't know, it's 2018 or 2007, whatever the case may be. Like, we act like, oh, it's 2021. Like, 2018 was so long ago. It really wasn't. It was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
And that language that was used would not have flown back then and ain't going to fly today. So the fact that he said it over and over again, and nobody in his circles, we talk about the coaching circles all the time, the good old boy network, if you will, the fact that nobody wants to hold that dude accountable, you probably could have saved him a lot of pain and suffering if you did. But nobody did. I assume he talked like that in public to his friends and stuff like that, because you don't just email somebody in your work emails and then not say that stuff to your circle as well.
Listen, I told somebody this today. I was talking to Rich Jones, actually. That's about it. And, we are all in different settings. You were in a locker room setting, right?
Sure.
I mean, I was in a locker room setting way back when the kids were super immature and probably said some things, like, again, probably one-off things that I would have heard and I've been like, hey, that's not really cool. Or, I mean, heck, just the derogatory nature of anything, never mind pointed at a certain race or sex or anything else. Just the way you say something, like, my gosh, why did I say that? Anything like that. But we're all also still around people that say something or a word or something that kind of goes off, and I'm like, did he just say that, or she just say? Did they really just say that? Like, why would you say that, and why would you say that out loud? You're not. If that's the way you think and feel, like, why would you even say that out loud, right? And then the next step of it is, okay, now you want to say you put it in writing and or other things. Again, that's where we got to go back to, is the root of it, though. I think today's generation is rooting out a lot of that kind of talk. I think because of the progress that has been made, like you said, it's a break in the wheel of progress. But I think there's so much progress made, and I've always thought this was a hand-me-down thing parentally. Most people that say like that comes from you were growing up in a world that it was okay to talk like that, right?
Sure.
And so I've always believed that, whether it comes to race or about women or anything else, that it's still going to take time to get everybody out of that, because it's a generational thing. Sure. Like, if you're 18 years old right now and your parents still talk like that, you're probably going to be willing to say something like that at some point.
No, I mean,
so that's not going to end until you end it for your kids at 18 years.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
You grow up as a product of your environment,
yeah.
and you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. So absolutely, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so – but because what we see is, how old is John Gruden now? Like 58, 55, something like that, right? I mean, I don't see a lot of these things coming from the Sean McVays of the world, right? This younger generation of coaches, right?
John Gruden's 58 years old.
Yeah, so I see this coming from, obviously, older generations when they thought this was okay, or they grew up around this kind of stuff where this was okay. And then there's a separation, by the way, of there is a culture in male-dominated sports that also allows for this kind of conversation and talk to be sometimes humorous and just banter back and forth. And if you look at the email circle that he was in, it was Bruce Allen, obviously a prominent figure with Washington. It was other business leaders, if you look at that New York Times article. And this is kind of the way they have conversations. Like, this is not a one-off thing. This was normal. And for that, John Gruden is done. I mean, he's absolutely done. He's a fantastic media personality on TV, on ESPN over the years. I think a lot of people fell in love with him, and he won't even have the opportunity to do that again.
No. And at the end of the day, if we're expecting these NFL players to lead the way in social change and causes and all this stuff, then the people that are put in charge of the players have to even set a better example.
Absolutely.
And John Gruden did not set an example. And I'm not sure what the exit interview was like in that locker room, whether he even talked to his players. I'm not sure what his players even think about him. I'll tell you what, I'd be upset if I found out he was saying those things in emails, whether it was 3 years ago or 5, 6, 7 years. It doesn't matter. Like, I would definitely be upset, because you're a guy who's supposed to be brought in to change a culture, to lead men. And there's just no room for that language.
Is John Gruden going to be the only fall in all of this? And I don't mean fall guy, meaning he was kind of the guy that he earned what he got, obviously. But there are other people that probably should be getting stuff out of these emails, is my guess.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure this goes a lot deeper than we even care to want to look, to tell you the truth. Will he be the only one?
What about David Snyder?
Well, I was going to say, I think, it warrants at least a look in Washington to see what transpired there, because, Snyder has had his name tied to some controversy before. So to sit here and say, he's fine. All his emails cleared. I find that very hard to believe with what transpired in Washington. So he could be another guy. Honestly, I think coaches today are taking a long, hard look at themselves in terms of, all right, do I have to delete some stuff? Should I delete some text messages?
It's not going to help you.
Well, no, it's not going to help you. I mean, everyone's got their receipts, but I think this is going to set a precedent in how coaches go about in terms of their behavior and maybe changing some of their old school ways a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, by the way, that's happened already. Like, I'm not sure John Gruden was talking like this the last 3 years. I think he was in an environment where he wasn't going to do that, given the change that had taken place, the progress, knowing that, okay, my ears are up on this, I'm not going to say anything because that might, you know what I mean? He was cognizant of it. He obviously didn't give a care what he said before for 7 years because he never – I say this. I think there's such an they just don't – you talk about a 58-year-old guy in 2011 emailing these kind of things. Mm-hmm. There's no clue John Gruden even know that someday that somebody else could see that. That's my point. Like, they're just they don't get it. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
Like, they don't understand. Today, everybody understands that, okay, if I say something right now, somebody's actually probably seeing it anywhere in China anyway.
Sure. Yeah,
so it's going to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's a totally different animal. But why this doesn't stop is, first of all, I wonder if Daniel Snyder and all the stuff that's gone on with Washington should be paying a price for a bigger price for what has transpired in Washington the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And for Bruce Allen's actions, for keeping that guy as long as he did in these kind of contexts, for the sexual allegations, the trainer now in Washington is involved in something. Yeah. I mean, this is not stopped in Washington, and that doesn't even have to do anything with the nickname.
Correct.
Right? And so Daniel Snyder, you have to start to wonder, is there any backlash for a guy like a Bruce Allen type in this, even though he's not there anymore? Mm-hmm. And what you just said is people are deleting. Well, like I said, you can't delete. This is going to continue to come up. My guess is John Gruden emailed some other coach in the NFL, and they had these kind of conversations or were part of it. And I don't know if that other person might have said something that's derogatory, but if they did, that's going to be found. Mm-hmm. That's my point. Like, this is not over. You don't dig out 10,000 emails or whatever and find this on John Gruden's, and nobody else is going to be involved. Yeah. This thing is not over in my estimation, and now it's just a matter of who and how surprised will we be when we see it.
Well, and then obviously with that being said, it begs the question now, does this turn into people going, like, I don't want to say a witch hunt.
A little bit, but could be.
Does it turn to, we're coming in lock, stock, smoke, and barrel and saying, guess what? Now we're going after everybody.
Yeah.
Like, show us your emails. What, you don't want to show us your emails? What do you hide it? I don't want it to turn into that. I'll be honest with you, because I think that can be a distraction towards an NFL season. If it does weed out some bad individuals, I get that point. But to me, I think eventually John Gruden would have got found out anyways. Like, I'm not sure what kind of person John Gruden is today. Like, yesterday, was he using that language to his friends, whether it's an email or a phone call? I have no idea. But I do know he was using it 3 years ago. Do other coaches in the league use that kind of language? I mean, I've said it many times on this show, even when I played. It's an environment of toxic culture. It is. I mean, that's just part of it.
And now, masculinity and toxic culture.
Toxic masculinity. Now, has that changed from the 10 years since I played until now? Absolutely. You better believe it has. But is it perfect? Probably not. I haven't been in a locker room in a long time, but I can probably sit here and say unequivocally that it's not perfect. So if this example right here, if John Gruden's got to be the fall guy for a little bit and everyone's, I can't believe it's just him, whatever the case may be, I think good will come of this. I think coaches will be put in check, and whatever representatives and organizations will be put in check and said, you can't say this stuff. You simply cannot do it.
Yeah, I think, there's a cleaner – on the other side of all this is a cleaner, better place for probably everybody to be, but this is decades and decades and decades and decades of society and everything that continues to now come to fruition. Some people call it cancel culture. I mean, I think a lot of this way, John Gruden earned this. I mean, this was not – I think we could make the debate if it was a one-off thing, if it's cancel and all this stuff, and should he be – should you be reprimanded? How much should you pay for something? Well, this is 7 years worth of this stuff. Did you read the emails? I mean, That is a lot of stuff. Like, you can be in a bad place, but you also might think a certain way. And we have to change the way people think sometimes. I mean, that's just the reality of the world we now live in.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's usually for the better. I mean, you shouldn't be thinking this way and talking this way.
But what would you want John Gruden? Do you want him to keep his job? Do you think he's going to be able to go in
I
that
don't
locker
see too
room?
many people saying
Do you think he's going to go in that locker room and apologize and be like, "Oh, we're all good, guys. Let's go focus on the next game here this Sunday"? Like, it doesn't work like that. The words that you say, the actions that you portray, you will carry that weight one way or another. And John Gruden is going to carry that weight, and it's simple as that. And you are representative of the actions that you say. I'm sorry, the words that you say and the actions that you represent. So, yeah, he got busted. He got caught. Obviously, if he didn't, then we're not talking about it today.
Yeah.
But you're the guy that got caught. I'm sure other NFL coaches right now are praying that they don't get caught. We'll see what happens from it. But like I said, I think at the end of the day, if progress is the goal here, then those people need to be weeded out.
Yeah, and progress will be made out of this. Like, to your point, I think at some point you just got to, not right this second, as we look back on everything. It's, I will say this about, there are times, right, where we see let's just say a 24-year-old kid coming out of college or something like that that said something when he was 17 in a derogatory way of some nature. Maybe it's, I don't even know it. I'm not going to put it on nature, but you get it.
Yeah, I got it.
And I'm always, when that happens, I'm like, man, should we be kind of criticizing, punishing people, canceling people for what this kid said at 17? Is that really who he is now? Did he say something stupid in a bad moment? Was he trying to be cool? Like, listen, I mean, you were a teenager. We're all teenagers. You might not have said that or did that, but you probably did and said stupid things, right?
Yes.
So I wonder that. I'm not saying I let people off the hook for it, but I do wonder at times that we've gone back and read their receipts as social media has first started, and you're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids at what they said at that time, and now 7 or 8 years later, we're like, well, get this person off the earth, right?
Sure.
This is not that.
I agree with you. I think when we're dealing with kids in high school, because I remember being in high school as well, and I remember like I was 1/60th of the mature person that sits before you today, and that's not saying a lot because I'm still a kid at the end of the day. But to sit here and say, all right, this 17-year-old kid that's trying to go to college, that's trying to make a better life for himself, we have to cancel him. We have to say, no, you can't do that anymore because it's something that you said, whether it was a lyrics or whether it was your own opinions, but whatever the case may be. We sit here and throw that kid aside. We cast that kid aside and said, no, we're taking this away from you now. You've lost your privilege to have a better life for something that you said. Okay, you can sit there and do that, but then what becomes of that kid?
Yeah.
Does that kid get an opportunity to learn, or does that kid grow up bitter, ticked off, and now is a detriment to society?
Yeah. And when they have kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would go with the latter. I mean, if we learned anything these past couple years of everything that's transpired with, the racial injustice stuff, I mean, we can go pick out tons of examples. And the Drew Brees one's one that sticks out to me a lot. Was the goal to cancel Drew Brees? Was the goal to try to teach Drew Brees, why maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, or maybe where your other black teammates are coming from? I think at the end of the day, that was the goal. And I think the message got through, and they seemed to reconcile, and it was all good.
Yeah.
We didn't just cancel Drew Brees and said, all right, man, you're done. Your storied NFL career, you're done.
He's actually recovered nicely from that.
He's recovered nicely from that. But when you have a situation like John Gruden, who's a 58-year-old grown man, and like you said, you're in the leader, you're in charge of men. You're in the leadership position. You're one of 32 guys that has been put in place to help usher this in to a new era in terms of culture building and in terms of just the optics of the NFL. And you do this, you can't. You simply can't. And there's really, I mean, sure, you can go ahead and try to teach John Gruden, you can educate John Gruden, but the position of power has to go away.
Yeah. And it has.
Yeah.
That is certainly the case. It's huge news in the NFL. John Gruden resigned. And now where do the Raiders go from here from a football standpoint? Certainly something they'll talk about in Vegas, and we'll keep our eye on. We are at Top Golf, Tuesdays at Top Golf. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Casey Kurtz back in the studio. Beautiful afternoon here in Jacksonville. Come on out, say hello. We'll be here until 6. Josh Scobie joins us at 5. We learn how to kick all over again for the entire NFL. And we talk Jags when we come back because Jags have kind of this short, abbreviated week. That is redundant, but yes, they do because they're going to London. So we talk some more Jags because the Jags talk today. We'll have that on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 when we come back.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Partly sunny today, an isolated shower or two, but mostly dry with highs in the mid-80s, a little bit cooler at the beaches. Mostly clear tonight, mid to upper 60s, and partly sunny tomorrow. Your Wednesday high up to 86. I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Join me today beginning at 5 p.m. on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jax.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beards Diamonds. Don't miss Beards BOGO Wedding Band Sale happening now through October 24th.
Know what time it is? It's time to get moving. Cora Physical Therapy has opened a new state-of-the-art clinic in Kingsland on Boone at Haddock and will be opening another one soon in Brunswick. With Cora, you have access to licensed, passionate clinicians, only the most innovative equipment, and life-changing therapies. Cora is all about treating everyone right now. It's your move. Visit coraphysicaltherapy.com for a free screening. No physician's referral required. Same-day appointments available.
Temperatures keep climbing, and hotter weather means your body needs more water. Stay hydrated. CGC Water Treatment wants to make sure the water you and your family drink is cleaner, healthier, and tastes great. It starts with the Connecticut system, proudly made in America and installed by the pros CGC Water. Not sure about your water? Call CGC. They'll analyze your water for free. I haven't had to worry about my water since I got mine installed because Connecticut systems remove up to 99% of the contaminants. If you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Connecticut makes the world's most efficient softeners, non-electric, twin tanks that use less salt and water during regeneration. Save up to $500 on select softener and RO systems this month. Financing available with approved credit. Call CGC Water at 904-552-1242. Call and ask about Conway Club, the new service program that will save you money on salt, filters, delivery, parts, and labor. Tell them Brent sent you and find out all the details and all the great ways you can save. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com, your local independent Connecticut dealer.
See, boss, look at all these great masks, and they got them marked down for their after Halloween sale. These make great disguises for breaking into houses.
Oh, yeah. It's perfectly normal for a big guy in a Spider-Man mask to be lurking around the neighborhood.
I wouldn't be lurking.
Whatever. Just make sure you don't go near any safe-touch houses. Those things aren't safe for us crooks.
Hey, before I forget, that house we've been casing, when are those folks going out of town again?
Black Friday. And since they don't have safe-touch security, we don't have to worry.
Yeah, no safe-touch means no two-way communicator or crash and smash technology, no video monitoring.
And no headaches for me.
Here, look. What do you think of my new mask?
It's definitely an improvement.
Thanks.
You find another house without safe-touch and the mask is on me.
Consider it done.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
Okay, I get it. So the summer season's almost over, but that's why we live in Florida. And that's why our friends at Arlington are doing fall Florida style with hot temps and even hotter deals. Get to Arlington Toyota today because they have 400 new Toyotas available with interest rates as low as 0% on over 10 new Toyota models. Plus, you get 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. And every new car purchase gets a lifetime warranty with unlimited time and miles. Shop arlingtontoyota.com today. Visit arlingtontoyota.com for full details.
He's kept you ahead of storms.
This is going to be a very active afternoon of storms.
He's taken you inside storms.
Look at the Reds then that have shifted a little south of Jacksonville.
And for 33 years, the Chief has seen it all. Forecasting severe weather days in advance. So when storms are headed your way, there is only one meteorologist to turn to tonight. The Chief. The knowledge and experience of Jacksonville's Chief Meteorologist, Mike Burrish. Action News Jack's First Alert Weather. Only on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
For the ones going above and beyond. For the ones reaching out, helping out, and lending a hand. For the ones people count on. You can count on Grainger. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. Backed by 24/7 customer support and specialists to help with hard-to-find products. Because you've got everyone's back. We've got yours. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger. For the ones who get it done.
Join us for the Autism Speaks Walk as the autism community reunites to support one another and fuels the mission to promote solutions across the spectrum and throughout the lifespan for people with autism and their families. Your commitment is what empowers Autism Speaks to provide crucial resources, research, advocacy, and support for millions of children and adults on the autism spectrum. Together, we can create a world where all people with autism can reach their full potential. To register, visit autismspeaks.org.
Whether on your radio, on your phone, or your smart speaker.
Now playing ESPN Radio.
He's seen guys that's not even going to make the team. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards in a game.
Wake up with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
I think the biggest thing is that we listen to what Coach Meyer's been trying to tell us, and that you have a bunch of hardworking guys in this locker room, and there's no doubt about that. And when you're falling short like this, it's just some things might not go your way in a game, and minor details like I fumbled